Our next inductee's nickname was Pint, but he was a giant in terms of his contributions to baseball, his hometown of Rockville, and the many kids he introduced to the game. Let's take a look at the life and career of Clarence Pint Isreal, who is being inducted posthumously.
Clarence Pint Isreal was a member of the 1946 Negro League World Series champion Newark Eagles. Growing up in Rockville, he spent 5 seasons in professional baseball. The second baseman was nicknamed Pint due to his 5-foot 5-inch stature. In the 1930s, he played in sandlot and semi-pro leagues representing Rockville. Like many others at the time, his baseball career was interrupted in the 1940s for 2 years serving in the U.S. Army during World War II. Pint spent his military years in Texas and Alaska, where he played and managed his baseball all-star team. After his career, he worked at NIH in Bethesda as a lab technician for 25 years. He was also active in promoting youth baseball and co-founded the Black Angels Boys Club of Rockville, where he coached and mentored hundreds of kids. He was so beloved by his hometown that Rockville named a park after him, Pint Isreal Park. This past summer, Bethesda Big Train celebrated Pint with the first annual Pint Isreal Juneteenth Classic. Pint passed away in 1987. We are proud to welcome Clarence Pint Isreal to the Montgomery County Sports Hall of Fame.
This is Hassani Isreal, and please tell us who you're with.
This is my niece Paloma.
My niece Paloma. Hello, how are you?
Say hi.
You're good. She said she's good. You're the grandson?
I am the one of the grandsons.
One of the grandkids of
Yes.
Clarence Pint Isreal. So obviously, Clarence Pint Isreal died many years ago. You were very young, I believe, when he passed. What are your memories of your grandfather?
You know, he was very active in the community. There was a pretty big black baseball and softball leagues back in the time, and he was very active in those. He would take my brother and I for trips to go watch games. He would umpire games. So we spent a lot of time with him. He lived right around the corner from us. Actually, my Aunt Denise still lives in the house that he lived in back then. So our family was very close, and we were with him a lot, and it was just really nice being with him. And he was very beloved. Everywhere you went, people knew who he was.
So did you think of him just as granddad, or was he granddad plus, and he was a great Negro League baseball player?
So I was 7 when he passed. He was granddad to me. I mean, I'd heard the stories, but then as I got older is when I really started to understand. I think people don't have a good understanding of what the Negro Leagues really were. Like his Newark Eagles team had 3 or 4 Hall of Fame baseball players on there. Don Newcomb, Monty Irvin, I can't even think of some of the, Leon Day, who was one of his best friends, is a pitcher who's in the Hall of Fame. Like they were great players that just didn't have the opportunity to play in the major leagues. And I think that gets kind of lost in the history.
And we're very honored to be able to have Clarence Pint Isreal as a part of the Hall of Fame for just the reasons that you mentioned. So what are some of the other things that you would want people to know about Granddad?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing really was his commitment to the community. They mentioned the Black Angels Boys Club. My entire life, I've had people coming up to me when they see my last name, asking if I'm related to Pint, and then telling a story about, he took us to this trip when I was a little kid, or he coached me in baseball. Literally, I work right now at Northwood High School here in Silver Spring, and my first day on the job, the head of security came up to me, heard my last name, and was like, "You related to Pint?" This was in 2014. So he had been dead at that point for almost 30 years, and still people remembered him and came up and said something to me. So I really think the impact that he had on the community is the most important thing.
And I can see how much it means to you just looking at you and sitting next to you. What did it mean when Bruce Adams had Clarence Pint Isreal Day at Big Train Baseball this past summer?
Yeah, it was really nice. I really appreciate Bruce and everything that he's done. Our family is very, very joyed that he took this work on. Like he has done a lot and pushed a lot for what is happening, including the field that they're dedicating at Johnson Park up in Gaithersburg. it just was nice for him to get that recognition, because again, I don't think a lot of people understand really just how big a deal it was to play in the Negro Leagues. Sure. and how much he meant to the community here in Rockville and in Montgomery County. The black community in Montgomery County was much more connected back then, and he was really well known throughout.
If he was around, or if he's looking down at the ceremony, what would he say about getting into the Montgomery County Sports Hall of Fame, do you think?
I think he'd be very, very proud. I kind of have a connection with Sonny Jackson. Actually, my uncle Butch was a Hall of Fame, not a Hall of Fame, he was an All-American football player at Richard Montgomery, and they lost their one game his senior year to Sonny Jackson and Blair. So we have been hearing about him my whole life.
God.
So knowing my grandfather, he probably would have been teasing his son that Sonny got in and he's not in instead. And just he would love being here and being a part of it.
I love that. Everyone and everything is connected, it seems, right?
It is, yes.
Hassani,
definitely.
thank you so much for being here. Congratulations to you and your family. And we're honored to have your grandfather as part of the Hall of Fame.
Thank you very
so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Shake your hand. Thank you. Shake your hand. Thank you. Take care.